Welcome to the US Open 2018. We're here at the YCC Under-20 Boys Division. Two high flyers going at it here. We have BUDA out of Boston, Massachusetts, taking on ATLiens out of Atlanta. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right. Quite a mouthful there of vowels all stuck together, but two high-flying teams out of ultimate dominant cities. This is the first day of YCC, starting a day later than the men's, women's, and mixed divisions. And yeah, I'm really excited to see this game. I haven't got to cover a lot of YCC games in my time as an ultimate commentator, so I'm really excited about this. You can see those boys are pumped up right now.
Yeah, great to see a lot of this youth talent descend upon Blaine, Minnesota for this kind of tournament. BUDA, a perennial kind of powerhouse of ultimate out of the Northeast. And of course, Atlanta also kind of brimming with talent. My understanding is that a number of the young men on the Atlanta team just won high school nationals with Grady High School. So certainly a number of talented players. One of the things I think is interesting about this event is the overlap with the adult club teams. I know a lot of those adult club teams, especially coaches, are interested to know where all these kids are going to college next year, or how many years out they are from those college determinations. It's really fun to see where the talent can come from and watch these players play.
Yeah, BUDA sending teams to 4 divisions of this 2018 US Open Club Championships: under 17 girls, under 17 boys, under 20 girls, under 20 boys. So a big statement from them and their youth development systems, and kudos to all those involved. And this game is underway. BUDA in the gray jerseys, kind of a steely gray, coming out in a vert stack. Everyone's splitting out of the way in the back of the stack, coming hot under Wyatt Maher. Quite an Irish last name. I hope he pronounces it the same way I do. And now they set up this give go. Brilliant offense from BUDA. In this early point, the rain is thundering down upon us. A wind coming from left to right. Not crazy strong, but plenty of wind up there. No turnover so far from this BUDA team. Working their end zone offense now. Jeremy Bernier getting that little give-go offense set up. The 18-year-old, 5'11" tall, sitting back in that handler position, wearing the brown cap, and they hold their first offensive point, and they are super pumped. That is a great goal by James Cairn.
Very patient offensive set from this BUDA team. A lot of really nice kind of committed break throws. This play really set up by the full swing on that break side, and then even though pretty low pass here, really excellent effort there for the receiver, number 9, James Cairn, to haul that in for his team. Always fun to score the first point of your tournament. A good note to start out on. A lot of positivity here, a lot of energy.
Yeah, I hadn't heard too much about the YCC division coming into this, but this is one of the teams I actually had heard of, was Boston BUDA. As you can tell, they've been very dominant in this division so far, and that was a great offensive hold. It is tricky conditions today with wind and rain here in Blaine, Minnesota. But a great opening pull play. We saw them, the stack, just everyone fade to the break side, and the back of the stack given lots of space to come under. And that set up their offense, and then they got near the end zone and set up a really nice offensive moves, mostly the handlers dominating possession, using the full width of the field. Let's see what the Atlantic team can do on their first offensive point. Plenty of interesting headwear for both teams. The headband quite popular, obviously, in the youth these days.
Got to look good to play good, Liam.
That's it. That's rule number 1. And both these teams almost matching with white and gray shorts and gray and white shorts on the opposition.
They are the inverse.
Now the big hook goes up from the lefty handler to their tallest receiver, and that one is on the money. 2 amazing offensive holes. Great play by Matthew Dacey-Koo, 6'6", 17 years old. Is he going to stop growing?
I hope so. If he doesn't stop growing, that's alarming. This is a great lefty rip from number 18, Adam Miller. A lot of confidence, obviously, in a receiver this tall. And, you know, at this age group where growth spurts can still happen for any number of these players for the next several years, but to have a downfield receiver with that kind of height differential, he's the tallest, certainly on his own team, but on the field, he's the tallest by 2 or 3 inches. It looks like BUDA does have a 6'4" that could maybe match him, but it seems like a popular target might be in the cards for him.
Yeah, definitely a force to be reckoned with. Didn't have to use his height in that throw, though. Was able to catch it in his stride.
We do have an instructional observer on the field for this game, Laura Meyer, former recipient of the Observer of the Year. She runs a lot of observer training and instructional observer training at tournaments like this. She's super awesome. It's a really good experience for these young players to be able to play with an instructional observer on the field, because it's definitely a different environment to play in. So we hope it's a good experience for them. She's not going to make a lot of rulings, but she will help kind of make sure that both teams understand the rules if need be.
Now coming out with a side stack, Boston BUDA. That one will be brought to the center of the field. And it gives the Atlanta team time to maybe set up some poachers. Looks like they're doing just that. 2 players bracketing at the front and back, or at least someone peeling off the back of the stack to help out. But this goes in and standing quite far off of the force. But again, the initiation cut comes and sets up their pull play. That one, just the wrong edge on the disc. Throw was definitely on. Good first cut again from Wyatt Maher, but can't follow up with that throw, and he put the wrong edge, and then the wind just caught it and pushed it out of bounds.
Definitely a strong throw there. I'm sure as we get into the rhythm of the game, a lot of these will tighten down. Often your first throw of the game isn't quite what you want it to be. Young players, obviously sponges of information, able to take in a lot. I'm sure he'll throw a perfect one later.
Yeah, it was used as the initiation cutter twice, but that was their first turnover of the game, so now Atlanta have the chance to break. Stack very far away, just has to go to his reset. Good O-line defense here from BUDA, not letting them get very far, and eventually a cut comes, but looks like a pick is called. Observer in orange tapping their hips to showcase that a pick has been called. Now to Jacob Dillard, who will be tending the University of Virginia later on, but now possession back with BUDA, setting up in a more regular vert stack now. Nice cut to the break side and low disc, and that's their second turnover at this point. And there's a stray hat on the field. Not going to be picked up. And again, Atlanta have to try and go full field to get the break upwind. Oh, and an unfortunate bobble and drop. Kendall Ridley had a couple of chances of getting that one in. So could be third time lucky here for Boston. Might have been some contact there for Ridley, but it's going to be called a goal. And they hold their offense on the third time of asking.
Yeah, a couple transitions happening for both these teams, right? The weather is certainly going to be a factor in this game, but also most of these teams represent the strength of their community across a number of high school teams. Really solid handler movement so far, a lot of really experienced players in their own right, but first game at a tournament like this is you discover what the pace of game is. So a few struggles there for the downfield receivers as they figure out that maybe the defense here is a little bit tighter than maybe they have been able to replicate at home. I know a lot of these teams are able to scrimmage local club teams in their areas to kind of gear up for this tournament, but nothing can really prepare you for that first game of the day when you actually meet these other all-stars from across the country and realize the caliber of play that is available. I'm sure it'll clean up a little bit. Right now the handlers are doing a little bit better of a job than the downfield receivers.
2018 marks the 9th YCC appearance for the Atlanta side since their inception in 2005, and actually won a championship in 2013. So two dynasties in the youth division going head to head. That one rolls out of bounds. And nobody on the mark currently. His deep shot is there, and now he gets it off. Adeo and some tug and grab in that one, but catches it through the contact. What a great grab under pressure, and they're super pumped here, Atlanta.
That was a great body position battle on that sideline. I'm sure we'll see it again right here. When this disc came off, it looked like it maybe had a little bit too much of an edge and was going to die, but great presence of mind there from number 5 on the Atlanta roster, Ben Dameron, able to bring that home for his team and then immediately find a streaking defender for that high release backhand. I said defender.
David Chalmers there getting the goal. No breaks in the game so far. And yeah, there was a lot of contact there on Ben Dameron as he's trying to catch that disc. I'm sure a foul would have been called had he not caught it, but did well to keep his focus under pressure. Coach Kate Woodhurst there.
Woodhurst, also a member of Atlanta Ozone, who is also playing in this tournament. There are a number of very high-level coaches kind of pulling double duty over the course of the weekend. Woodhurst is one of those staple names that I think kind of echo through the community. She's a big deal in her own right. Really happy to see her over here, but you know, played games earlier today. And as a coach, sometimes it's hard to kind of balance your own physical fitness and your mental fortitude. So I hope that she is also transitioning well into kind of coach mode.
The score 2-2 now. That one sailing out of bounds and will be bricked. Yeah, Kate Woodhurst would have been at the World Ultimate Club Championships as well with Atlanta Ozone after finishing 4th at US Nats the year before in a famous game where they took down Riot, and a wayward dump pass gives a short field to Atlanta to get the first break of the game. Adam Miller making sure his defensive line pushes upfield as they try and get a break.
Good switches by the BUDA defenders.
Miller getting lots of touches. The lefty now shoots the end zone. I think this one might be on the line. Oh, it's been called goal by Boston, so Kendall Ridley gets on the score sheet for the first break of the game.
Let's have a look at this here. Another goal set up by a great kind of full field swing here. This is another reason why left-handed players have a distinct advantage. This is a left around break. Able to use the full width of the field, able to get those downfield receivers open surely by making space because the disc moves horizontally across the field. Really good patience from these young handlers. I'm really impressed so far with the level of play.
Yeah, particularly Adam Miller really taking over in that point. Some beautiful fakes. I think he could sell an umbrella to a fish, that man. Beautiful play. Really dominated the touches of the disc and pointing where he wants his cutters to go. And as you said, a left-handed player sometimes can be awkward to mark on the force where you position your hands, and the pivot being slightly different to what you're used to. Maybe sometimes you can practice your force in a mirror if you just want to get used to the different symmetry. That's not true, definitely don't do that.
I'm sure there's some value add there. I just can't really figure out what it is yet. I will back you up as soon as I figure it out.
Then Dameron with the pull.
That's a great pull. Wow. Just
Yeah.
hung.
That one's so close to the corner of the end zone. Would have been very close to landing in or out of bounds, but forced the offensive player to make a decision and catch it. Now in Callahan territory in their own end zone, going upwind as well. Atlanta with some suffocating defense. Maher, Deshano, Kelly. Oh, and this is a short field and a chance to get 2 breaks on the bounce here. This time it will be Aiden Downey picking up the disc. Gets the big around swing, changing the point of attack. A nice high release backhand with a theatrical catch. Gets them their second break. Brilliant play from Atlanta. Jake Powell gets on the score sheet.
Another good opportunity here to showcase how, as Liam said, changing the angle of attack can really change up how effective your offense can be. This high release backhand into space was an easy throw, but because the work had already been done to move the disc horizontally across the field. You know, a shame for BUDA. I've heard teams call that situation that they were in with that massive pull kind of a coffin corner situation. And they looked very confident and steady, but in these conditions, with a little bit of a wind picking up and a wet disc, anything can happen, and you have to start taking a lot more care over your grip on the disc and taking an extra second to like wipe off any wetness at all. Serves you well in those conditions. These errors have been very small and very correctable, and I'm hoping that this chance to regroup will allow BUDA to kind of get out of their own head a little bit, maybe get some confidence and just play Ultimate the way that I think we have seen flashes of and that we know that they can.
Wise words being imparted from Coach Dan and Tim. Tim, I believe, playing with Dig in his spare time when he's not coaching.
Spare time.
Spare time. His main focus is, I'm sure, this BUDA side. Yeah, Dig not at this event, but had a great run at Nationals last year.
Yeah, balancing that coaching a YCC team and playing on a club team is really complicated because the seasons overlap. I know a number of club teams have players who coach high school teams during kind of a non-competing high school season, but to dedicate your summer to a YCC team is really selfless, really, because you are sacrificing your spare time to invest in a second team. Often with a lot of travel requirements and a lot of costs associated. The amount of fundraising that these teams do to get here is really incredible, and I think that it's a testament to both the players and the coaches that they have dedicated as much time as they do to this YCC season. It's really impressive.
That's Adam Miller with the pull. Getting some nice hang time on that one. James Cairn. To Maher. Back to Karen. Zach Riley shoots the open side. Now one banged into the middle. Han Dupont. Oh, and a wayward swing pass is going to work out. Don't think that was the intended target, but a very forgiving throw. Means it will keep possession for BUDA. Trying to settle their offense after a timeout. Knocking on the end zone door now. Again, using those swings, but struggling to get upfield. Now a shot to the end zone, just outside. Oh, and tries to pop it in, but there is Ridley to clean that one up. Or should I say, Jaden Medley, folks.
Yeah, that was a good opportunity for BUDA on just a little bit, very, very, very patient until they weren't anymore, basically. Tried to get going a little bit faster than their legs could carry them. Luckily, Atlanta makes a miscue of their own, so BUDA will have a second chance at this end zone.
Now a shot to the break side, caught under pressure. Always looking to attack the break side, this BUDA team. Popping one now. Slow and steady. Eventually throwing to the open side, but that one just pushed down with the wind. So another chance to break for Atlanta. If they can get this one, it would be 3 in a row. Tries the upwind flick hook, but very difficult to execute and drops short.
There is a flag above the red shade tent on the far sideline if you're trying to get an idea of how much the wind is affecting these throws right now.
But that a great goal by Sean. Nice lateral cut, gets himself some space. Stops the bleeding there as they had conceded 2 in a row. Back holding their offensive point after that timeout.
Yeah, really good patience being shown, mostly by the handler core of this BUDA team. I think one of it's not really a danger per se, but one of the temptations when your handler set is very patient and is very calculated is that sometimes when you're a downfield receiver, that makes you feel like maybe you should go slow too. And in reality, in the situations that we're in, and especially with the level of defense that these teams are going to see at this tournament, if you want the disc, you have to run full speed. And if you don't get it or you get pumped off, you have to clear it full speed. So there are a lot of things happening right now that I'm sure these coaches will highlight in their huddles, but right now there's an interesting balance to be struck between being calculated and being patient, and also running full speed and hustling to those spaces.
The score now 4-3 to the team in white. Atlanta ATLiens. I'm trying to pronounce as best I can. It is actually spelled ATLiens.
This pull went out of bounds pretty quickly. We'll see pretty advantageous field position here for Atlanta.
Yeah, that is not a great pull. Oh, and a high release flick works out. Creative throw there to the open receiver. That is Miles Pearlstein.
Yeah, it seems to me, and if we get another shot of that flag, the wind is blowing into our faces here in the booth, so towards the near sideline. What that means is that there's a forgiving wall of wind kind of to the far side of the field that is going to slow down any disc that comes near it right now. We saw it on that errant swing pass earlier that just kind of seemed to float and hang in space so that it could be recovered. And in those situations here, close to the end zone, putting up anything that has any kind of bend in it towards that high side of the field is going to slow way down and be a lot more forgiving for receivers to run onto.
Yeah, and you look at this roster for the Atlanta team. There's a heap of players over 6 foot tall. I don't know what they're feeding them down in Atlanta, but it seems to be working. I know we use Miracle Grow on our lawn. I don't know if they have something similar for the young boys down in Atlanta, but they're a tall team by any standards, not just in this under 20 boys division.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, they may not be done growing. A number of strong recruits for their various college choices, I'm sure.
And offside being called. Gonna have to try that pull again, and that's probably the best gauge you're gonna get of the wind is these upwind pulls, as both teams struggling to get much yardage out of them. And one thing different with WFDF and USCU game advisors and observers is that those are active calls by observers, the offsides, and maybe I think I prefer the game advisors signal the offside to let everyone know there was offside, but it's up to the offense to decide, because sometimes you don't want to call it. Maybe it was a very bad pull, and you want to get the yards you got off that bad pull. So I think maybe the decision should be with the offense to make that call themselves.
Well, Liam, there is a rules committee if you'd like to join it. I think they're in the process of writing a new edition of rules, actually. A fun conversation, maybe a stressful conversation to be a part of.
Yeah, I'd much rather just give my opinion, not do any of the hard work, if that's okay.
Sounds great.
But looks like a violation call there.
An interesting series, a great offensive bid attempt, and what looked like kind of a accidental poach D in the backspace, but it is called back. An interesting series there.
Great catch by Gubish on the ground. Keeps it alive, and a difficult throw to the end zone is going to land about 20 yards out of bounds. As I said, wind blowing to this near sideline, so already we've seen 2 throws from this Boston team go out on that far sideline. So you need to gauge that wind possibly a little bit better to keep the disc alive.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which team kind of adjusts first. Obviously, Atlanta up a break now and could potentially break again here, I believe. But don't be comfortable, right? If you can adjust to the wind conditions and be more successful, then you should be able to extend your lead and create a more comfortable situation for yourself. And especially in a pool play game like this one, not only might point diff matter later if there's a tie in the pool standings, but also just an opportunity to play more of your roster throughout the game and keep everyone fresh.
And a tasty inside break. Might go back here. There's been a call to down. I think he's maybe suggesting it was down initially from the release there. A very low release there. Oh, and I think that air bounce may have actually touched a blade of grass.
Been a grass bounce?
Yeah. You know, kind of an unusual call when you first hear it for this to be down like very early in the throw, but yeah, I think that's a legitimate call.
I'm interested in here to see if they ask Laura for her opinion. Laura Meyer, of course, the instructional observer, waiting patiently because she knows the answer.
Yeah, but not needing her help in this one. They talk it out very well, and it will be called a turnover. Wind picking up significantly now. You see the Minnesota trees shaking in the background. Traction control on many of the cars, I'm sure, in this wet, windy conditions.
Minnesota trees are very strong trees.
Good continuation offense from the Atlanta side, looking to gain lead to 3-0. An unfortunate slip could result in a quick shot, but keeps things steady.
It did storm overnight last night, so the field is soft, but not muddy. Didn't see a lot of traction issues in any of the adult games.
Bernier shoots to the front of the end zone. That's another great goal, keeping within touching distance of Atlanta. That is Caleb Seaman attacking the open side for a goal.
Good work there by all teams to put a little extra spin on their throws. Really pleased to see that despite the wind, most of these throws are not impacted at all. So I'm excited to see that this game will be determined more on tactics and individual skill level than on conditions. Although I say that now as I am trying to keep our monitor on the table. So we'll see how it continues.
Yeah, and something we didn't mention earlier as it happened is, you know, Atlanta have got an upwind break in this game. And as the wind picks up, that could be more significant as time goes on. It's going to be very difficult for either team to score upwind. The last few offensive points going downwind.
Absolutely, it could prove crucial as we kind of experience the rest of this game. But, you know, a lot of young people, especially with throws of this caliber, also would generate a lot of energy in order to get that upline or that upwind point. So it could also be an opportunity for a team to struggle and work hard to get an upwind, succeed, and then change the momentum of a very tight game later on.
Zone look here from the Boston side. Trying to stifle this Atlanta O-line. You hear some loud shouting from Coach Woodhurst to stretch the field, try and space out the zone, but looks like they're transitioning to a match defense now. Just trying to stop that pull play. This goes up now, cross field. You can see it bellowing in the wind. This one's going to sail way out the back. Nothing Jaden Medley folks could do about that one.
No, it was so far out the back, although he was clearly fast enough to run it down anyway. Perhaps too fast for the length of the field.
Boston taking their time, walking this one to the front end zone in a rush here. Trailing by 1 point, but you feel if they could get an upwind break here, the downwind one could be a little easier. Nice space creation by this BUDA side, cleaning out the near sideline. Oh, and a good effort to keep the disc alive, but it's back with Atlanta. A little fake at picking the disc up there. And the shot goes up again for Miller. That one, beautiful. Oh my word, what a tasty throw. A little frosty inside flick. What touch on it.
Good effort here from Atlanta to move the disc towards the high side. Again, on this low side where the wind is blowing, all the throws are going to be harder. But if you can move it a little bit horizontally, all the throws become easier. And luckily for Miller, that left-handed spin is very favorable, especially with that kind of wall of wind coming from the other side. So slowed up, perfect placement, really nice throw, really excellent decision making.
A great lesson on downwind throwing. I believe that's his third assist of the game so far.
Yep, still just a 17-year-old. but still, and still with a lot of learning time left in his career, obviously, but already putting on a bit of throwing in the wind clinic here. For this BUDA O-line, I'd really like to see them putting in some extra effort to complete a full swing to that high side in order to run their offense kind of up there. The more time they spend closer to our cameras on this near sideline, I think the more likely those throws are going to tail out of bounds, and the harder it will be to kind of score and do the things.
Pull again from Ben Dameron. Zach Riley. Shot to the middle. Ryan Cable now. Again, sailing out the back. Cable doing some great downfield cutting, but can't hit that hook where he wanted it to go.
I think that look was lined up pretty well. I'm just probably came off a little bit hot. That is the downwind side, so the wind is going to be behind those throws, and it is a hard transition to take a little bit off of those throws because you know the wind is going to keep picking up the velocity of the disc as you send it.
Now again, trying to go upwind. With a second upwind break, getting some good yardage here, past the halfway line. Evan Marshall. Big around, but ends up in the hands of Boston BUDA. Zach Riley to Luke Proddy. Back to Riley. Some little 1-2s of Proddy again. Some good handler defense stops the reset, but Orion Cable is that release valve downfield.
Good work here.
Yeah, it's a timeout called by Orion Cable. Not happy what he's looking at downfield. Or it is a goal. Someone missed that one.
No worries. That was good work by the BUDA offense to use that high side where the throws were easier, and assisted kind of by the fact that Atlanta was forcing that direction. Not sure what the strategy is there yet, but good work from BUDA to be able to use that open space, leave it open. Nobody was clogging. Everything seemed to look pretty good. And their defensive effort on the handler D did cause them to be able to get possession and make that offensive possession work.
Luke Proddy with about 3 stellar cuts in that point. Grinded out 2 unders and eventually getting the goal. Some good chemistry with Zach Riley. This is a great experience for the young players to be on the USAU live stream, going out to Facebook and social media. It's not often players this young get such a high caliber production.
Absolutely. Just the availability of media, high-level photographers who have experience capturing these images both in still frame and live action is pretty incredible for these players. Not only to watch themselves as a learning tool, as coaches can literally ask them to watch a game that they have already completed to learn from, but also kind of as a, a general, wow, foot block there from number 16 and an immediate BUDA timeout. But yeah, being able to see yourself on the live stream is a great opportunity. you get to learn from things like this, where maybe you can learn a little from your pivot and see, or someone can improve their mark to get a foot block like this one. It's an excellent resource, and the archive is ever growing.
Yeah, that a dirty, dirty foot block from Zach Riley, who then calls a timeout. Played a crucial part in that last offensive hold. Now with a chance to break upwind, he called a timeout. Let's see what he's gonna muster up for us.
Yeah, clearly realizing how close he was to the upwind end zone and carrying the import of that into the timeout. Really savvy veteran call there for a young YCC player, especially as the wind picks up. If they can get this upwind point right now, it'll even up the game and give them a chance to go downwind to try and take a lead.
So the BUDA stack setting up quite far downfield, considering where the disc is coming in at. Perhaps just trying to isolate the handlers at the start. Wyatt Kelman back with Riley. Looking for his reset now. Swings to the break side. Lateral cut coming from the front. Riley in power position, goes for the big around swing and some good footwork, gets the goal. That is Orion Cable standing in a 6'4", getting the upwind break for BUDA to tie it up.
That's a huge play. Again, really excellent call calling that timeout to recenter your team. This over-the-top backhand blade, super precise. Maybe could have waited to make sure that he was in from the observer before spiking, but other than that, excellent play, excellent excitement, good energy here. Tie game, 6-6, really exciting first round of pool play here.
Yeah, let's see if BUDA can follow that one up, because when you get the upwind break like that, you really want to continue and get the downwind break, and that would bring them back on serve, getting closer to halftime. And if you can get back on serve, you're going to keep that advantage going to halftime. If they don't, it almost feels like Atlanta will have 2 breaks. They might be able to extend their lead to 2 if they don't get a break back somewhere. You got to feel this is their best opportunity to do so.
Yeah, oftentimes in wind situations where one end zone is significantly harder to score in, essentially you tell your defensive line that they have to protect it. That no one else is allowed to score in that end zone but your own team. So a good strategy here from a coaching perspective is to try and now stack these downwind lines to make sure that no more upwinds can be scored by the other team, and then essentially work until you can put together a line that can go upwind again and hopefully get another break at an opportune time.
And they come down in a zone. BUDA, big over-the-top throw, works out to get out of their own end zone. Staying in the zone for now.
Not sure what the discussion is. Could have been a pick in the handler set, I suppose. They're pretty close together.
Good. Driving jive up line, gets himself free. Now a blade to the middle of the field. Good continuation cut and separation. As they try and hold this. Oh, and an amazing grab.
Wow.
Huge sky in the end zone, showing his vertical leap. Gets up in the air.
Great work by Atlanta against this zone. Really kind of taking their time, but the downfield cutters are creating a lot of space and getting a lot of yards. Not sure who the actual intended target of this throw was. It looked like maybe. Regardless, excellent air battle by number 5 from Atlanta, Ben Dameron.
Yeah, has had a great game so far. Has been on pulling duty as well. That's a great way to answer back after being broken going downwind. Score your upwind. offensive point. No turnovers, some spicy throws, a hammer to get out of that zone initially, then a crossfield blade and kind of a sky ball to the end zone, but trusting their cutters to make the big plays when needed.
Yeah, really impressed with the ability to attack that zone, both kind of around and through, but also over the top, as you said. A lot of creativity shown there in those throws. I know there's been a lot of development in the coaching world in that curriculum to try to help younger players develop creativity early and not necessarily tell them that they have to learn a force or a flat backhand and a flat forehand first, but to give them more freedom to play with edges and play with precision throws early so that they develop them for longer. Certainly that seems to be the case in the Atlanta hub for sure.
And I've seen that happen with some of the best youth players in Europe. We have a team Rut out of Netherlands.
I will not try to repeat that. I don't.
There's an 18-year-old by the name of Fleur Culottes who's debatably the best female player in Europe right now at 18 years old. And at the start of her career, she was 10, 11, 12, throwing all sorts of crazy throws, and people were trying to tell her to calm down, but eventually she learned how to execute all those crazy throws, and that's what's made her one of the best players. So I like that in the youths, you know, don't hold them back, don't force them into a boring offense. Let them, you know, work on the more spicy throws now, the more difficult options, and then further on in their career, they can holster it in. This one's going to be another sky ball, big turning point in the game, and who else but Cable scores another big point to take it to 7-all. Next team to score will take half.
Absolutely. Well, I don't think either team is afraid of this wind anymore. When both teams have an upwind under their belt, it becomes less scary and they're more willing to take shots. Also doesn't hurt to have a receiver like him. Wow, up over the pile. Well played, very safe body positioning there, right? Did not make any contact with anyone. Read it well, read it better. Great play all around.
Orion Cable pulls one out of the stars, and we now have what we call in Europe a galaxy point situation, which is when next team to score takes half.
Oh, galaxy because universe is at the end of the game. Ah,
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. It's a colloquial term.
Oh, nice.
Maybe one that we might hear in the US sometime.
Yeah, maybe after hearing this live stream, Liam, they will adopt your terminology and carry it forward.
I think both teams are going to stack their line now. They realize how important this point is. Atlanta are going to have the disc on offense, but going upwind, the wind may calm down a tiny bit since it was maybe 20 minutes ago. So if Atlanta can hold this, they're going to get the disc back, which is always a great thing to do, to send your O-line out there, they score, and then send your O-line out there again to receive the pull. It's always a nice feeling. Doesn't happen often in the game in Ultimate, only in this scenario. And again, BUDA are thinking if they can just break now, they can prevent that from happening and could potentially trade out the game and win. So this is a huge, huge point in the game. This will definitely be something we'll talk about at the end. Beautiful, high, arcing pull. Oh, and the huck goes up. That one quite low, and it's tipped.
Whoa.
Oh, and almost helping the Atlanta player out there.
That would have been maybe the coolest thing I've seen today if that had worked out.
Yeah, Nate would have been kicking himself, but he'll get the D technically, even though he made that one easier. Now, Luca Harwood with the disc, shoots it to the middle. Peter trays. Oh, a dangerous reset, but eventually gets there. Wyatt Kelman to Zachary. Pick called in the stack. And you can feel the tension rising on the field. Everyone knowing how important this point is. Hearts starting to race, need to keep their cool, make the right decision. BUDA can even up the brakes if they can capitalize here. But only working through the handlers now. This vertical stack, not giving them a lot of options so far, but there it is. With August Williams gaining some yards. Looks like a pick is called. Disc is going to go back. Looking for the reset. Oh, and a beautiful backhand break. Now the disc goes up. This one's floaty. Will it stay in bounds? Could be on the money, and a great shot to break for a half. Huge point in the game. That is Zach Jeromin catching that beautiful hook. Looked like it was going to float too much, but dropped perfectly into the hands of his receiver. And yeah, they're back on serve.
Great point there by BUDA. A few things I want to call out in the handler set. A couple just really, again, smooth, committed backhand breaks back to the handler spot. That consistency in the backfield is so important on any team. It gives you a backbone. You can rely on those handlers to essentially just play catch with each other until a yardage gain is available downfield. I really like that look, especially because he put some edge on it and he tried to send it to the high side of the field where that wall of wind is and slows everything down. That made it available for that pass to kind of drop back down on that arc. So it was just a really nice choice there.
Yeah. So Atlanta coming out of the gates on fire, getting a few early breaks, but BUDA dig deep and bounce back to take the lead into half. 2 breaks apiece. This is Liam Grant alongside Aaron Baraka. That is a joke. Baraka. That's my new nickname I have for Aaron. Aaron Baraka. Don't know if it's catching on quite yet. A woman full of energy in the commentary booth. But yeah, some great play in the YCC Under 20 Boys Division. We'll be back with the second half shortly. Almost like Gatorade, more healthy, but there's like vitamins and stuff. I have this. Yeah, that is gross. Welcome back to the US Open 2018 here in Blaine, Minnesota, just outside the Twin Cities. We're here at the under 20 boys division as Atlanta ATLiens take on Boston BUDA in a very tight game. Boston just broke to take half, but now trading on serve, so we'll see Atlanta come out on offense in the second half. Liam Grant alongside Aaron Maraca. Aaron, who impressed you in that earlier half, or what have you really enjoyed in the first half of this game?
You know, I'm still really just impressed with the level of play. The wind has picked up, and at kind of that U20 level, it's understandable for young players who've only been playing for a year or 2 years to struggle in win conditions like this. It's a reminder that the youth scene is growing so much and that many of these players have been playing for many more than 2 years at this point in their career. So just their poise and composure when they have the disc and a wind gust comes at them has been remarkable. Also just kind of the high air battles have been really impressive as well. There are a number of tall individuals on this team who are kind of naturally selected targets in that, right? But they're playing really well in the body position. They have a lot of body control. They're reading these really well, and they're catching these discs at their highest point and at their own jumping highest point, which is another thing that young players usually struggle with. But these players just are behaving and playing like they're several years older.
Now advancing down the field, Atlanta in the white jerseys. Going horizontally across the field. Pearson's outside the end zone now, dumps it back to Jake Powell, who runs the quick give go. Now looking to swing it around. Powell heavily involved. Now that great end zone offense can't be punctuated. Beautiful swinging.
That throw just a little bit behind the receiver. Unfortunately, Ultimate is usually a game of inches, so that could prove costly for this Atlanta team. BUDA now with an opportunity going upwind.
And the disc is now back with Atlanta. Trying to convert this downwind offensive point. And a pick has been called in the stack and a theatrical grab by Jake Powell. He's been all over the field. Not afraid to get down and dirty. Disc is back with William Johnson, who now shoots towards the end zone. Couple of yards outside. Johnson shimmies to get free. Low flick isn't caught. So again, BUDA have another chance to continue the momentum they gained in that ending of the first half. Can they get another break here? As you see a little sliver of sunlight peeking out from somewhere. Haven't seen that big ball of fire in a while.
I think it was here on like Tuesday.
So third opportunity for Atlanta.
Looks to me like BUDA might be forcing a little bit more straight up here, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah, definitely a flat force, and a lot of the handler marks sagging in the lane a bit as well to kind of shut down those throwing lanes. And this position may be better to go to a vertical stack, clear two sides, get a lot of faking. Because with a flat force, a lot of people in the lane, there's very little space. Miles Pearlstein, who will be going to Georgia Tech. They'll be glad to have him in their setup. A growing talent in the Atlanta area. Oh, an around swing. I thought I was going to catch that wind, but gets it on the second attempt. Powell, reliable, as always. Oh, and that one is going to be a turnover, and this is great defense from BUDA. Really made them work hard to get any good throwing options, and I think it's that tactical adjustment you highlighted.
It also just looked like a bit of a miscommunication there. It looked like the handler thought that they had agreed that that was where the open space was, and the receiver wasn't sure it was to him.
And that a shotgun bullet of a hawk that goes up, oh, and throws it away, having got himself outside the upwind end zone. possibly easy throw in, just rushes a bit too much, and a gift back for Atlanta. 3 turnovers apiece, I believe, in this point. Oh, and now a 4th from Atlanta. Gonna be picked up on the sideline. Gets the easy swing off, but loses some yards. Back now with James Cairn. Good little pop, give a go offense. Nice throw to the break side. The continuation is there. This one's gonna float. Oh, and he macks it. Almost caught by the BUDA play. That's 2 attempts to score a valuable upwind break. Gone awry.
I think so far on these turnovers, a timeout called by Atlanta here. Good chance to regroup. As I was just saying, I think the lesson kind of in the errors so far is just when you're throwing upwind, it's important for your weight to be forward over your body. If you tip backwards and release the disc with that front edge up, the wind is going to punish you. It's going to pop it up. It's going to carry it to a side. So even if you're trying to go quickly, if you hurry and lose your balance, that's going to impact the trajectory of the flight of the disc. And I think we've seen that happen 2 or 3 times here. Someone just trying to go a little bit too fast, not really in the right stance or balance, and not able to get the right spin on the disc.
Ryan Simmons, also part of that coaching staff for Atlanta, possibly telling them to call a timeout. Maybe an echo coming from the sideline. I know they've already turned over 4 times at this point. They need to steady the ship. Simmons plays with bucket himself.
And then the third coach for Atlanta is Stan Birdsong, who played for Carleton this year in the college division, participating in that Midwestern college kind of north central weather type. It's very windy during college regionals in our neck of the woods. So he too has a lot of experience kind of in these swirly wind conditions with the threat of rain constant. So I'm sure he has a lot of valuable tidbits to add as well.
Yeah, a stellar trio of coaches. Let's see what tactics they have now. Getting high in the stall count. He's going to lash it, and it works out. Good heads-up play.
That disc was partially macked and still caught by the offense. Pretty incredible read there.
Again, BUDA sticking with this flat force, sagging in the lane. Usually pretty easy for them to get their resets, but hard to hit downfield. Now they go for their deep threat. Oh, and good pressure from Nath, stopping their tallest receiver.
Well, it was well read by both the offender and the defender in a tight spot, not a lot of field to work with, both of them turning almost a complete 360 before getting any piece of that disc. Just really good concentration and effort on both sides there.
Oh, and another turnover. That's now 5 apiece. 10 turnovers in total in this point. And we saw this happen in the game previously where BFG and Dragon Thrust, 2 of the top teams in the world, having a point similar. Very hard to stop the roller coaster of turnovers when they start coming.
Yeah, the wind conditions really behaving as an equalizer, right? Very talented teams with different strengths go into a wind game and can't do everything that they came out to do. Wow, that's a great catch there.
Persons gets themselves an assist.
Number 29 caught that goal between 2 defenders, it looked like to me. Again, really great concentration in a wind that might make a disc hop or change direction on the fly.
William Johnson, one of the oldest players on this youthful team. So teams now tied at 8-8. As I like to call snowmen.
I like that.
Bit of a poker reference.
Okay. You've got a lot of like vernacular that you use. Do you have like a cheat sheet that you can put out for people? So we've got Galaxy Point, we've got snowmen.
Yeah, I've got some. I think this is part of the Irish vocabulary. We don't ever speak in straightforward terms or words. Lots of cliches, metaphors.
Okay.
We speak in tongues.
Okay.
From the land of saints and scholars, it's called.
Oh, okay. That's good.
So I think if you were to meet any other Irish person, you'd probably find a similar set of vocabulary, and that is confusing and bizarre. Looks like offside is called. I think that might be the second one of the game on Atlanta.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting for these teams. Again, the access to observers at the youth level is pretty sporadic. So for them to experience a game where an instructional observer like Laura Meyer is around and able to call things like this really holds them accountable, right? Pulling when someone is watching if you are offsides or not is a new lesson in kind of accountability.
Cable getting high in the stall count now. Eventually gets the pop pass off. Oh, and a low throw into the stack. And as you said, that's a big punishment for being offside. Gave the opposition half field to work with. Now, it didn't work out too well for them, but it's not something you want to do every time, particularly with such a strong wind. You only want to have it going the other way. Give them half field going upwind. But now, Atlanta with a chance to break. A long way to go.
Wind a little bit more erratic right now and gusty. You can see the flag on the far side of the field bending and swaying at an angle. Causing mayhem all over.
Now with a short field, BUDA. Nice around swing. Zach Riley has been monumental in this game. Let's see if he can get this layout grab, and does just that. The opposite of the commentator's curse right there. Oh, and maybe not. I got trolled by the curse itself as he gets hand blocked. Zach, what are you doing to me?
A lot of really great individual efforts on both of these teams right now. A lot of stellar kind of highlight play-worthy material. Mostly in the air, but also, you know, two foot blocks right now. Nice grab.
Aiden Downey asking for his reset to get involved, get moving. Ben Dameron. A lot of angled cuts coming from this horizontal stack, but nobody really getting free, and it's that flat marks from BUDA that's stopping them throw downfield, because there are people getting open, but it's the handler marks in the lane and the flat force that's stopping them. Now a deep shot comes. This one is going to be competed with. Oh, and almost getting it on a certain attempt, but a lot of bodies bouncing off each other there. Eventually, Eric Liu able to get the defensive effort.
Wind interacting with the disc there in a couple different ways, but a lot of contact. I'm surprised there wasn't a little bit of discussion about it.
That looks like a great shot. Theatrical bid, gains himself some yards. Ryan Cable, another standout on this BUDA team. Looks like he's gonna pop that one in for the easy goal. They keep their offensive hold.
Great play there from BUDA. I really like this tactical decision to go flat and sag the lanes. It's taken away a lot of the downfield looks. And then when they have it on offense, finding that tall receiver, letting him run to space, it was a great throw. And then really good patience there by that receiver. That's Cable. making a couple pump fakes, communicating with his receivers, and conserving his greatness. Again, temptation is to try to get going too fast, and he showed some maturity there and took a deep breath and found the right look to complete the point.
And to me, the tactical adjustment you usually make for a flat force is going to a vertical stack. You saw them poaching in the lane as well. The handler marks on the reset. You can take one person out of there. If you have only 2 handlers back, you're going to get one of those poaches in the lane out of there. But also, it's very difficult to mark downfield when there is an open and break side with a flat force in a vertical stack. Because basically, you get someone at the back of the stack and they just cut to one side. Very hard. It's whatever side your defender is not standing on, there's very little you can do about it. That's generally what many teams would do in this situation. Let's see if they make some kind of adjustment to that flat force. Again, they're going to stick with this horizontal stack. Going to flying bid from August Williams. Almost gets the turnover, but it stays with Atlanta. Nice shot to the middle. Jay Albright dumps it back. William Johnson shoots across the field. David Chalmers. Trying to set up the give-go here. Keeping the disc moving, changing the angle of attack.
Some of the downfield BUDA players are clearly trying to share the responsibilities and bracket a bit, and miscommunication there, I think. It didn't fall out of it in time to cover that receiver.
Yeah, Hayden, Austin, Nab in acres of space there. And the switches were going all right for a while. There was some good zonal play, but eventually they get caught out.
Nice low grab, good presence of mind there.
And yeah, Austin Nab going to the University of Georgia.
Also nice to see number 29, I think, Johnson, kept throwing those backhand arounds to open up the field. I can't overstate how much better it makes cutting downfield when the handlers can move it the full width of the field, regardless of the conditions outside. And that really was what made BUDA start trying to do the switches, trying to do those horizontal brackets, because those backhand around breaks were so dangerous. So creating a situation where the defense has to react to you when you're on offense is an excellent way to open up space and find a new way to attack when they break down, essentially.
Ben Dameron with the pull. You can see him eyeing up this BUDA offensive line, trying to pick their matchups. That one a very high pull, which is not going to go too far with the wind. Would have liked to have been called offside that time, I think. So he would half field to go. Riley bounces around to get the disc. Blue cap tilted back.
Wow.
James Cairn. Both teams looking a lot more comfortable playing downwind as Cairn fumbles that one but gets it eventually. Orion Cable.
It's really high-level throwing going on in this backfield set. These around flick breaks really hard right now in any wind, just coming off perfectly and smoothly.
Luke Proddy hits Caleb Seaman. very traditional end zone offense, very safe. A low throw, and it is caught unbelievably like Luke Perotti. Has had a sensational game so far, getting high in the stall count. Gets the swing, but it's smacked and not caught on the second attempt. Shot to the middle. Not much options downfield. Eventually a cut comes and caught under some body pressure. This Atlanta D-line showing some heart. Isaac Huntington, oh, the shot the middle gets D'd. You can see it coming. BUDA very tight in those unders. Now a shot to the end zone. This one's gonna be tough. Can he get there? Oh, another great goal for Luke Perotti. An amazing point from him.
Great transition too. You could see him take off after that defensive effort and call on his team to push the pace of the game. Good read here. Glad it stayed in bounds.
Done well to step across his defender initially, not give them a straight line to attack the disc. It just held his position from then on, and an easy catch. Goes for the bump. Ends up on the ground after that one.
Yeah, don't hurt each other on the celebratory bump. All the Atlanta players a little down after that point. It was one of these grinded out situations, and that can make or break a team, but really important here to regroup and kind of mentally fortify. It's the first day of play. It's a pool play game. A lot of heart shown already, still getting their rhythms. Too early in the day to not still be positive.
The way both offenses are flowing now, I think it's going to be very difficult for either team to get an upwind break. So I'm forecasting maybe one, possibly two upwind breaks in this game. And, you know, the way it's standing, Atlanta needs to get one of those.
It would also be really good for their morale. I think it can be a struggle, these long points back and forth. You get frustrated with yourself, you get frustrated with each other, but it's important for these young players to learn how to kind of roll with those challenges and move past those moments and reinvest in the broader team goal.
Interesting way of stopping the disc there, actually kind of stomped on it a little bit. Not sure if that's the best way to do it, but
the BUDA downfield in a bit of a poach. It looks like a big triangle almost. 3 men under, 1 man deep.
Yeah, playing kind of a 2-3-2, I think, to start it off. Interestingly, the 3 mids with their back to the disc, but now the deep shot comes up, and that one, an amazing read. Powell.
Yeah, you could see he had to check back over his shoulder and take a new route, but that throw by our lefty, Miller, again, really well placed, good spin. And clearly they've been practicing this, but he does have to check on it and then recommit to a new route. Well read, good attack.
I believe that's Miller's 4th assist at least that I can recall, going for the golden arm of this game, possibly the tournament. And yeah, Powell had initially a read over his left shoulder to the disc, had to then switch over to the right shoulder, and that's something very difficult to do. You lose sight of the disc, it's hard to keep your line, but obviously trusted Miller to put it in the money spot and ran to there, and that's exactly what Miller did.
Good opportunity here for BUDA on offense, going downwind. To be efficient and clean. And give themselves a little bit of extra confidence in this win. Anytime that you can go out as an O-line and kind of perform to the standard that you have set for yourselves and run your set correctly is good to build on and good for your confidence going into a tournament. Certainly also kind of a fun opportunity for Atlanta to maybe re-up on their upwinds if they can get a break.
Yeah, we've seen Adam Miller playing a second point now on the D-line. I think he could be the key to unlocking an upwind break. He has that big left arm hook, which could possibly just get a 50-50 shot to the end zone or something, a shot to that open end zone, which a lot of teams have struggled to do.
Additionally, on this line is number 72, Daisy Koo. Also the tall receiver that you want to be downfield in receipt of that lefty backhand.
Yes, a 50-50 shot becomes more like an 80-20 shot with the tall stature of Matthew Daisy Koo.
Atlanta is showing a zone look here, and we just heard a horn. That will impact how many points we play to.
As far as I'm aware, that is a soft cap, and I think we add 2 to the highest score. Is that correct? So should be a game to 12.
Probably
finish
13.
13, yeah. Finish the point at 2. Not finished yet. And with a big opportunity to break now inside the soft cap. Good small ball to get momentum going for Atlanta. Nice lateral cut from Damerson.
For a moment, it looked like BUDA was in a bit of a zone. It looks like they've transitioned out of it, or I was wrong.
No, definitely some sagging in the lanes anyway, not a lot of honest marking going on. Let's see now if they can get Miller in the quarterback position. One out into space now, nobody going deep for him yet. Calling for people to come under, he wants to play it a bit more safe. Shot into space, that one trailing out. He's just falling back as he's throwing that, Miller. Looked almost like a travel as well, but it's not going to be called, seeing as he threw it out of bounds.
Yeah, I hope no one at home thinks that we think that being left-handed is your like invincibility code. You do still have to have the balance over your stance. You still have to lean forward when you're throwing upwind. It's just the spin that's different.
And now a shot. Again, the difficult corner of the end zone hit. And that is the third time BUDA have done the exact same throw into that corner of the end zone. Not putting enough outside in the throw, tiny bit of inside out edge, and immediately the wind's going to catch it and push it away from the field.
Yeah, I'd really like to see them. I like how aggressive they are looking downfield. I think it's an important strategic note, but it might be more conducive to the wind right now to try to turn the page and put up a bit of a backhand over by that wind wall on the high side and let it come back. Does seem to be an injury. Not sure if either of us saw what happened.
But back in possession, Atlanta. Still searching for a break in this second half, but they've turned over in their own end zone. A much easier option for BUDA now. Zach Riley with not far to go. And an immediate cut to the open side. An easy goal for BUDA.
That side of the field is just a lot easier to throw on right now. The wind is more forgiving. Even if you put some edge on the disc and it pushes, you've still got 35 yards of an end zone to work with. I'm a little unclear there about why the force was backhand. Maybe the assumption is that those will pop high and carry the full 40 backwards, but it looks to me like that's not having an impact right now.
Well, with that forced backhand, they've forced some turnovers on the flick side going into that downwind. So they've got turns on that, but maybe giving that easier open underside pass.
We'll see if Atlanta can answer on their own downwind. The last time they went downwind, it was a very efficient point. Right?
That's it. That's what we're hoping for. Now gain to 13 with a hard cap of 17 or so minutes.
number of fans amassing on the sideline here from the other divisions of play. Always fun to also have your kind of schoolmates and friends from your local area be able to come watch you play at this level. I know a lot of these teams have high school teammates that are on them, but there are also high school teammates who play in separate divisions or on different teams. So it's just, I think it's a really fun experience to come here with kind of a congregation from your metro area to compete all together like this.
Yeah, as I said earlier, Boston BUDA with 4 teams at this tournament. Now going downwind, Atlanta on offense. Looks like they're doing a bit better against this flat force now. Oh, and just in time, Ryan Cable couldn't get there. Good swinging, and that's where this flat force gets caught out when you get close to the end zone. Some quick swinging allows for the lateral cut to the front. And you see the flat force works well at the start, but maybe you want to switch to a side force when you get towards the end zone. Because once you do those quick swings around, it gives the defender no opportunity to stop every lateral cut.
Absolutely. I think it's really about what you're trying to take away. So if the flat force is designed to take away the big looks early in the point, then it would be important to fire out of that as the huck looks become less likely or less of a big windup. Really clean hold there, very efficient, no turns. Good job for Atlanta to do that. It's still a very tight game, and it feels like it.
So yeah, now tied at 11s. Still no break in the second half. Shout out to Spin Apparel, who are the official tournament sponsors. We see the Atlanta boys sporting some of their goods.
A couple of these BUDA players reappearing on the line again after the last point. I think Cable's attempted layout D was a sign of his full potential. Already a long body, but able to cover so much horizontal space on those potential bids. Really dangerous defender.
Now Riley with the disc, being forced backhand again. Deep shots coming, that one is a high one. And that is Ryan Cable trying to get there. Unable to run that one down.
A lot of defensive effort there from the Atlanta player. This number I can't see right now. Bid early enough to make the lane difficult for Cable.
And that's what I wanted to see. Adam Miller just get out there and rip one. Oh, and a great grab under pressure. Aiden Downey. Looks like this could be the first upwind break of the second half. Milking that one like a Minnesota dairy cow. Taking his time. That is the most milk disc I think I've ever seen.
Well, I think he thought it might hop again, and he was trying to be very careful, which I appreciate in these situations. You know, we've seen a couple of other looks at this upwind end zone where a huck went off and the catch was made a few feet out of the end zone, and it, you know, the players went too fast and missed an opportunity. So, you know, kudos to these players for slowing a bit down, taking a good look at what was available, making the right throw, and being super careful about the catch in the end zone.
Yeah, it was almost like telekinesis as he floated the disc in front of himself, hovering, and that came from the quick hook from Miller. That's kind of what I wanted to see from them. If they got that break opportunity, he quickly ran to the front of the end zone, almost carrying momentum into that front of the end zone, and just jacked it straight away. And he has that great hook on his backhand side that, at least throwing upwind, he's going to have a flat throw, allow someone to make a bid, and that's exactly what Aiden Downey did. And that was essentially what set up the goal. Didn't get the assist, but had that big hook to get them downfield and counter quickly. So now on game point, Atlanta, going downwind on defense.
If you're Atlanta, your whole game now is to protect this upwind end zone and make sure that you play the best defense that you've ever played on this particular possession.
Well, that is about the best pull you can possibly do to start off their defense. Crazy arcing blade, runs out the side end zone, so will come in the front corner with the side wind and the downwind on top of you. A very difficult place to pick it up. Defense have set as well. So a lot of weight on Zach Riley's shoulders, but has done fantastic so far. Oh, and a drop from Cable, who's been outstanding in this game. 1 yard to go. Can they do it, Atlanta? Puts one out into space. That is a goal. They flood the field there, pumped. Another break to take it to 13-11. Looks like this game is over.
Absolutely. Good patience here again from Atlanta. Have spent a whole game establishing with BUDA that they are willing to swing the disc to that high break side, which means that the BUDA defense has to be honest, has to be tight on their player. And again, after setting that up for the whole game, they're able to just find a clean open side throw. I know a lot of teams focus on the 1 point at a time. What can we do right now? But excellent coaching to be able to put in some patterns over the course of a game that allow more freedom towards the end of the game when you want to be more efficient and when you want to attack in the easiest way possible. So good kind of long game strategy there from Atlanta.
Hayden Austin Knabb with the game-winning goal. Great to see their teammates and friends from the girls division, setting up a little soul train for them. Coaches getting in there as well to celebrate that big victory.
Couple highlights for you on the stream to wrap up this game, but you know, BUDA going into the next round of pool play should be really proud of what they accomplished. This was a close game in sometimes difficult conditions, and they showed a lot of maturity and poise. Hoping to see more tight games from both of these teams, Liam.
Yeah, that is just the early rounds of the YCC Under-20 Boys Division. Atlanta ATLiens come away with the win. Outstanding performances from the likes of Adam Miller, Hayden Austin Knabb, Liam Grant, alongside Aaron Maraca. Stay tuned for some more great Ultimate this week.